But you'd be out as well, wouldn't you?
Yes.
6 and out. At least Dave Callaghan, as captain of his country, on this occasion can say, well, I bowled my 2. I'm getting out of here. Throw it to somebody else. Huge hit, that last one. Halfway up the trees in the corner of the ground away to our right. And that'll be 4 as well. Down the leg side. Just to see whether he did get a bat on it. No, 4 byes he's given.
Well, they held it pretty well, didn't they, for the first 7 overs, the South Africans?
Yeah, they did. But I think New Zealand have been pretty sensible. You know, it wasn't the sort of total that you had to go out there and smash it from ball 1. And you need time, don't you, just to get used to the pace of the pitch. And certainly remember, the New Zealanders are batting against bowlers they've never seen before, which also makes a little bit of a difference. Mulligan George, the fielder, making sure that 2 weren't considered.
We've generally seen the slow bowlers belted and the slow deliveries belted today. Just these quicker medium paces, they're finding them a bit harder to hit, as long as they're in the right spot.
It's up in the air, but missed time, so doesn't reach the fielder sweeping up on the cover boundary. Yes, only really in the competition so far to date, only Chris Harris has changed pace so cleverly to deceive batsmen. 1 or 2 balls from Callaghan. Astle square, that's so beautifully timed. That's just a lovely cricket shot. It's nothing to do with limited overs there, just got a little bit of width. Nicely played.
You know, so strong there in that region. It's the old story. You time the ball and it races away for runs, and when you try to do it too hard, you get yourself into trouble. All it's got to do is cross the boundary. It's 4. It doesn't matter how hard it hits the fence.
.32 runs still required off 25, or that'll make it 30 off 24. So it's still more than 1 a ball, but with 7 fielders, it doesn't make it too simple. 13 off that over, 97 for 2. And Bruce Yardley's going to leave me, and I'll be joined by Sunil Gavaskar for the rest of this match. Two not-out batsmen, Matthew Horn and Nathan Astle. Nathan Astle played particularly well. 71 from just 36 deliveries. And a change of bowling. Mike Rindle. Those left arm seamers. He's making up his mind whether he's going to bowl over or around the wicket. Looks like he's going to bowl over the wicket. Bowled in the full international arena as well, with a certain amount of success. It's going to be bowling to Matthew Horn. 1, 2, 3 on the leg side. Just 1, and Sunil, that's all about all New Zealand need do now, isn't it? Just chip it around.
That's right. Nathan Astle's played a very good innings, very controlled innings. He began watchfully, particularly against Townsend, who bowled a very good first over, but then he's accelerated quite nicely. And you're right. I think if New Zealand look for the singles and the boundaries will come, should be all right.
And Rindle strikes. Well, there we go. Nathan Astle, having played such a beautiful innings to date, quite where he was looking to manoeuvre that ball to, I'm not absolutely certain, but it hit the off stump very hard indeed. Let's have a look.
A big gap there between bat and pad, and this could just possibly be the foot in the door for South Africa to win this match. Nathan Astle, after playing a very good innings of 71, is out. New Zealand 98 for 3.
Just thought that ball might have come back at him slightly from Rindle. Certainly looked as if it kept a little bit low, but it was quite a full delivery. It looked as if it just nipped back at him slightly, and Astle looking to give himself some room and hit it out on the offside. That brings Chris Harris to the wicket. I asked him if he thought he'd get a knock. He said he fancied he might towards the end of the innings. He was 100% right. Left-handed batsman, right arm bowler, as you would have seen earlier, and no mug with a bat either. Good improviser, and been known to hit some big shots. Here's the last wicket.
I thought a slightly casual shot there by Nathan Astle. He was batting very well. The ball didn't do really too much, just maybe lost his concentration a bit, Nathan Astle. That can happen if you're batting well. And of course, as a batsman, you've got to just make one mistake and you can be back in the pavilion.
Turned away nicely, looking for two. They'll have to hurry. Good throw in, but the running always timed.
New Zealand's running between the wickets has always been very good, always looking for the extra run. New Zealand always putting pressure on the fielders, taking their first run very quickly. So crucial, the running between the wickets in limited overs cricket, when fielders are protecting the boundaries. And the boundaries are difficult to come by. You need to really make every ball count for runs. You need to take the singles, try and convert the singles into twos, put pressure on the fielders.
It's 26 off 20. That's well stopped by Rindle. Aggravating for him that a run was scored at all, but he certainly saved a couple. I think that might have made the max zone before Callaghan from long on could get across. Hit very hard. A very good over from Rindle on the wicket of Astle. 102 for 3. So just 3 overs left. 25 required for victory.
At the end of the 7th over, New Zealand hitting 126 and now 102 for 3. Harris is on 3 and Hall is on 12.
Tate, Chandler and Drum still to come. But methinks that New Zealand really don't or shouldn't require them. Just some sensible batting here. Because picking twos up isn't too difficult. It's only all with only the 7 fielders, lots of gaps.
Yes, that's what New Zealand really should be looking for instead of going for the big hits, because if the lower order batsmen are not regular batsmen, and they're new to me, so I don't know whether they can bat or not, might just put pressure on them.
Mulligan George back into the attack. 22 he went for in his first 2 overs. And strangely enough, the greater majority of those were were boundaries. He seemed to get the ball through to the keeper quite often, but then just lost the length a little bit or the line a little bit, and Nathan Aspinall really punished him.
He's trying to bowl a little too quick, I thought. He's sharp. You know, I thought he was trying to get a little bit extra pace, and he can't really afford to give batsmen of the experience of Nathan Aspinall a little bit of width, which he did. So although he was going past the bat, he was also conceding runs.
Nicely stroked by Harris. There's an example of a very comfortable two. The batsmen haven't even had to, well, they've broken a sweat because the humidity factor is enormous, but there was no real haste in those two. They just coasted it.
Very experienced player, Chris Harris, so he knows that he doesn't have to do anything silly. Just got to keep the ball just a little wide of the fielders. There will be runs then, but no pressure on yourself. There he goes again. So long as the ball's been put away for runs, you never feel the pressure.
Stunned it down into the ground. Comfortable single.
Mulligan George just coming on a little quicker for Matthew Horn. He really doesn't need to do that now because there are wide open gaps on the onside, and George gets the ball to move into the right hander, so he should really be looking to work the ball away to the onside and pick the twos.
Harris doing just that. Anything in front of square is certainly one, so long as it's not straight back to the bowler, obviously, and invariably two. It's good running.
It is very good running. They have been running between the wickets very well, the New Zealanders. Harris using the pace and the little away movement from the left-hander, guiding it away, bringing his experience into play, Chris Harris.
That finishes the over from Mulligan George with a leg by, 110 for 3. Just 14 required then from the 2 overs left. Townsend 3 overs, 1 for 16. The most impressive, I think, of the South African bowlers. Mulligan George 29 off his 3. Kemp 25 off his 3. He'll be happy with that too. And so none of those 3 can bowl again. And Rindle is going to bowl 1 of the 2 left. It's a question of whether Callaghan bowls the other one or whether he passes the ball on to somebody else. He's gone for 28 in the 2 that he's bowled so far. Rindle to Harris. Harris will look for 2 here. Townsend coming in from long on. Your end, Harry, was the call from Matthew Horn. And a comfortable 2 achieved. I think the South African fielders have got to actually come in off the boundary just a little bit at this stage. They can't afford to allow 6 twos to be run. 15 runs off 11 deliveries needed. And Callaghan takes a very simple catch at long off, and I don't know how bright that was from Chris Harris. He looked as if he had it all totally under control and was showing the experience that he has, and then suddenly let us all down, Sonny, on hold out at long off.
Strange shot that from Chris Harris, because he was getting the twos comfortably. He wasn't under any pressure whatsoever. So this was really a strange looking shot, which has caused his dismissal for 10. New Zealand now in a little bit of trouble, I think. 112 for 4.
So Harris goes. The new man is Phil Chandler. Bedecked in a cap as opposed to a helmet. Too many bouncers being bowled, so I think a cap is quite sensible headgear in these temperatures. Very hot and sticky inside a helmet. And a left-hander, Phil Chandler. And there's the last wicket to fall. Just hit it straight to David Callaghan. Didn't have to move a muscle other than both arms to take a comfortable catch.
Really was catching practice there for David Callaghan. Hard to understand why Chris Harris played that shot.
Rindle. Rindle's second wicket. He's actually bowled very nicely here. Callaghan wishes he could ask him to bowl the last 6 up the other end as well. One more look at that dismissal. Pretty near the toe end of the bat. Yeah, if you got one of those in a fielding practice, you'd throw it back and say, come on, make it a little bit more difficult, will you? Bowled. Now, are New Zealand going to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory? I ask myself.
You will get the answer very, very soon, Robin. It does look to me as if New Zealand's made it very difficult for themselves with the loss of Hassel and Chris Harris's wicket. Both experienced players needlessly got out, playing pretty casual, pretty ordinary shots.
Down a long on. There's only one this time because Townsend's quite a way in off the boundary, but that was an unnecessarily poor throw. Lack of concentration there. This might have resulted in a overthrow, but Morné van Wyk very quick to get round and back up the bowler. 13 off 7. A dot ball here for South Africa will pose just a bit of a problem. But he's gone for a boundary, and that makes it a lot easier. Well, that actually, I think, was a very, very important blow for New Zealand. Takes them through to 18 for 4 with just 1 over left. So just 9 off the over. Huge difference between 9 and 13. It was crucial that maybe that last ball didn't go for more than 1, say.
118 for 4 wickets.
Just making a little bit of room for himself by walking across towards the off stump. Matthew Horn anticipating that the ball would be bowled around his off stump.
So it is going to be Captain Callaghan who takes on the mantle of bowling the last over. So you can't say that he's shirking his responsibilities by any manner of means. Can't be overconfident because his 2 overs to date, he's gone for 28 from memory. Yeah. So I shouldn't think he's thrilled at the prospect of having to bowl the last over. Just 8 required. Long on and long off look as if they should be off the line just a little bit more than they are, because there's 2 down to them where they are at the moment. It's in the air and out. Well, what is going on here? Nicely caught by Mulligan George running off the mid-wicket boundary, but really New Zealand attempting suicide here.
Well, this is inexperience for you. Chandler has not played too much of international cricket. All he had to do really was to give Matthew Horn, who's been around on the international scene, a strike by picking a single. Instead, he's holed out to deep mid-wicket. And once again, South Africa in with a chance. New Zealand 118 for 5.
I think the most important part of that dismissal, apart from a wicket falling, is that it's a dot ball. Of course, New Zealand have got one bonus out of it, and that's that Matthew Horn has now got the strike, which is probably ideal for them. But now there's only 5 balls left and a job to be done. Alex Tate, the new man in, but he'll have to wait a little bit before he gets strike. This is why he's at the crease. It just could have been driven down and to long off for 1. That would have been just as comfortable. As Sunil Gavaskar indicated, just a little bit of lack of experience, maybe. Callaghan. That's pulled away. That's not going to help South Africa's cause. It's a big shot for New Zealand. So 4 balls left, 5 to win. Back to a 1-a-ball scenario.
And this is the reason why Chandler should have given Matthew Horn the strike. Very experienced player now, Matthew Horn, been in international cricket for a couple of seasons.
Dot ball. Just a little tiny bit of pressure. Because Matthew Horn won't want to lose the strike, Sunil, will he? He'll want to say to himself, hang on, I've maybe can't ask a brand new batsman. That was the last wicket to go down. Nicely caught by Mulligan George. One more dot ball and the game's on again. No, he's picked it up and hit it away on the onside. It will be cut off before it reaches the boundary. Just. So 3 to win, 2 balls to go. Just to remind you that wickets don't come into it. The tie is a tie and 1 point each if the scores do finish up level. My money would be on New Zealand here, though. Still. Now we got one that's gone to the wire. What a difference from the Australia-Pakistan game. He's bowled him out now. What? Now Callaghan has made it very difficult for New Zealand, with the aid, I think, of Matthew Horn.
Indeed, you're right, Robin, because Matthew Horn has just picked up 6 runs playing the pull shot to square leg. Now he's tried to make room and play the shot on the offside and has lost his wicket. What must he be thinking as he walks back in? No, he's disappointed. New Zealand really in trouble here. 124 for 6.
So Horn makes his way very, very slowly off the field. Probably almost embarrassed to walk into the dressing room. You know, one of those awful feelings, and we've all been there. There he makes room, and the stump cam catches it. There we go. In fact, it hit the camera, I think. He knows what he's done. He knows what a difficult situation he's left Drum in. Chris Drum, he's got to do it all. There's only 1 ball left, all being equal, and no balls or wides or anything silly like that. Callaghan's also got to be clever here, Sonny. He obviously wants a win rather than a tie, so the fielders can't be too far back. The mid-wicket man looks a little bit too deep for me, but then if it goes over his head when it would have been caught, he's going to look silly.
I think he'll settle for a tie because he'd want to win. Bowl a dot ball, but if he can't bowl a dot ball, he certainly wouldn't want to concede more than 2 runs.
There it is, and it's driven through extra cover and for 4. Don't worry about running the 2s. Well, New Zealand's hero is Chris Drum. He just walked in and hit the first ball he received. Wasn't really much point in him taking guard for 4. So they get through in the end, but they should have got through a lot easier than they did. South Africa will feel just a little upset, having got so close, albeit that 20 minutes ago they felt that maybe they were losing the game anyway, but that doesn't help you under these circumstances.
That's a very little consolation that we got close. It's always got to be we didn't win. That's what teams really ought to think. And the South Africans will be kicking themselves because they really had a chance there, having captured those wickets of Nathan Hassel and Chris Harris, the experienced players, and then Chandler. I thought South Africa were probably going to win, but Drum had different ideas. That was a very, very good shot, a cracker of a shot actually, to get that boundary. New Zealand in the end scraping through, and they'll have 2 points on the table, which is what they were looking for when they started the match.
So Townsend bowled very nicely. Mulligan George made a bit of a comeback, 3 for 29. Callaghan, almost a hero, but the most expensive of the South African bowlers. 2 games, a good spell from Mike Rindle, 2 overs, 2 for 13. So 2 games played this morning. Australia destroyed Pakistan. New Zealand nearly threw it away, but got through against South Africa. And with their thoughts on the morning's play, let's go down to David Hookes and Shane Warne.
Thanks very much, Robin. Well, it only took us a couple of games to get down to a thriller in these games, and Shane, a last ball result, great for the crowd and great for what this type of cricket's all about.
Yeah, well, it's just 2 games of contrast, really. In the first game, Australia comprehensively beat Pakistan. They actually batted quite well. And in this game, we saw it get right down to the wire. Both sides sort of started off a little bit slow. And then as they got into it and got used to the conditions, picked it up a bit, and we saw some beautiful batting. So overall, a pretty good start to the tournament.
Are we going to see the teams improve the way and the style of their play as the game's gone and they learn a bit more from each other's play?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see the sides walking around and looking at their tactics, where blokes put their fielders and all sorts of things. So it'll be interesting to see how it develops over the tournament and what changes they do make.
What about the bowling?
Yeah, it's quite tough, isn't it, for a bowler in these situations, but there is a little bit of swing there for the bowlers, and it's quite tough being a bowler. You'd rather be a batter.
Well, Shane Warne would rather be a bowler out in the park, no doubt, but that was the morning session. As Shane said, 2 games of 2 contrasts. We'll be back in half an hour with the 3rd game on the first day, Australia taking on India.
Much more of a nail-biter. New Zealand took on an inexperienced South Africa, the only 2 experienced players really in the South African side, Callaghan and Rindle, and they played their part. Rindle with the ball, Callaghan with the bat, and New Zealand just got home off the last ball when the poor batsman coming in had to hit it for 4 to win the game, when he had to hit it for 3, and 4 was enough. So a good morning's play, and Australia in the field again for the first game of the afternoon against India. With me, Shane Warne, and Australia certainly looked the most dominant side of the tournament to date anyway.
Yeah, the first 2 games were quite different, weren't they? The first game, Australia won quite convincingly with some good, solid batting, and then the second game was a real nail-biter. It was a close one, and it was a very, very close game, got down to the last ball.
Have a look at the 2 sides for the opening game this afternoon. Australia unchanged from this morning. Julian Blewett, Ponting, Fleming, Gilchrist, Martin, Di Venuto, Simmons, and Robertson standing down, I think, unless a little bit of bounce early afternoon for Fleming there. Kanitka finding it's got a little bit big on him.
Damien Fleming, when he's at his best, has got a bit of zip, and his short ball is actually very, very quick. It's got an extra yard of pace to his normal delivery, and we saw there, it's just on Kanitka a little bit quicker than what he thought. And Damien Fleming making a move now. He's actually coming around the wicket.
Slapped away wide a 3rd man who makes his way around there. Not exactly had a full sprint, but it was always going to be 2, so that's fair enough.
Damien Fleming trying to cut down the angle here on Kanitka.
stroke down the ground, doesn't make the max zone.
Damien Fleming going back over the wicket to Nyan Mongia now, the right-handed batsman.
Good delivery.
There we see that extra little bit of zip that Damien Fleming has. He can really get a bit quicker than what you think. It just looks like he ambles up to the wicket, just getting a nice little bit of rhythm, and then every now and then he just bowls this little one that's a little bit quicker on you, and it really does get big on you.
Wow, tides come in. Fine over from Damien Fleming to open this game up this afternoon. India 4 for no wicket.
There we see Damien Fleming just bowling the outswinger, just going away from the batsman a little bit. He really has come on well again after his shoulder reconstruction the last 12 months. Had a very good tour to India earlier this year and is continuing on his form. He's bowling very, very well.
New bowler for Australia is Julian.
Brendan Julian, a little bit of outswing. Gets his radar right away. Perhaps the left-hander helped him a bit. Struggled in his first over this morning.
We've talked about the swing this morning and how hard it is for the bowlers, and the ball now, the brand new ball, just does swing a little bit now with the humidity in the air. And Brendan Julian, if he does get the radar right, can be quite a handful with his swing bowling.
It's down the leg side, but not called as a no ball. If you've only just tuned in, there are not guidelines, strict lines drawn for the umpires. The one on the leg side is the nearest to the batsman's feet. That is 24 inches from the middle stump. It's a broken line. And outside the off stump, there's a solid line 30 inches from the middle stump. And that's an outside edge, and Julian strikes. Gilchrist takes a comfortable catch. And Australia, as they did this morning, make early inroads into the opposition's batting lineup.
Yeah, Brendan Julian has got the radar right there. A little bit wide from Kaneka. His footwork wasn't quite to the pitch of the ball. Threw the bat at it, and Adam Gilchrist took a very good catch from behind the wicket.
So Kaneka out for 3 off 6 deliveries faced. Caught Gilchrist, bowled Julian. India 4 for 1. Just what's required in this type of cricket is early breakthroughs. I say that, it really applies to any form of cricket, from test cricket right down to the normal 50-over game played around the world. New batsman AJ Jadeja. Say that very slowly, otherwise you end up with all your ages in the same dages. And what an explosive player he can be. That's why he's here. Just a little bit of movement away from the left-hander, but as Shane Warne indicated, the bootlaces looked as if they were tied together. And the right leg never went anywhere near the line of the ball. It wasn't going to get to the pitch of it because it wasn't that full.
I think you might find the Australian side here bowl a little bit short. We don't like to bowl short in this sort of competition, I suppose, but that's nearly a double wide, that one. That's very wide. There was a theory that was going around at the end of the one-day competition that AJ Jadeja was such a good one-day player that he mightn't have liked the shorter stuff, so you might see Damien Fleming or one of those guys just maybe by the odd shorter ball.
Struck away. That's the That's the ability of the man. He's just been in for 2 balls. One of them he couldn't reach, and the second one just into his pads and just played an orthodox, just clipped it up. Sweet part of the bat, clears the man, saving 1 at short fine leg, and whacks into the advertising hoarding.
Jadeja does play if you do bowl a bad ball, he will punish you. He'll hit the ball to the fence most of the time. And he is a class player, and you have to be right on your game. And BJ got to get Brendan Julian has to get his radar right straight away to this guy, otherwise he will hurt you.
And that should be another wide, surely. Oh, well, it just looked like one from up here. One gets so used to anything going down leg side normally being called a wide and limited over cricket. Let's just see where this does go. Well, it's right over the top of the dotted line, so well done the umpire. Jadeja keeps strike. And quite an eventful over, one way and another. 11 for 1, India.
AJ Jadeja, he does like just to get the pace of the game and really make the game revolve around himself. He likes to just work the 1s and 2s, hit the bad ball or a little bit too full to hit the boundary, but he really does like to be the man out in the middle and to sort of run the pace of the game at his own pace. So it'll be interesting to see how he goes about it.
Julian, the wicket taker. Damien Fleming bowled an excellent first over. Man out Kanika, as you can see, bottom left of your screen. Nicely bowled. We're all sitting up here almost wanting somebody to run up and bowl a no ball, because the rules here are that the next ball is a free hit. I want to see where it gets bowled.
Damien Fleming there was a pretty good length, but was shortish of a good length rather than erring on the full side. So I think that's what you'll see Damien bowl a lot to AJ.
Yeah, same again, bowled. He's just got a little bit of movement away from the right-hander too. It's a little bit down, whether that's off the pitch. We might pick it up here or in the air. Just off the pitch.
You just see his back foot there, Robin. His back foot actually goes towards leg stump and actually doesn't go back and across. It actually goes straight down to leg stump. So it'd be interesting if Damien does continue to bowl like this.
Oh, good stuff. You see these team talks that everybody bandies around, they work. You got to chat about it. You got to work out people's strengths and people's weaknesses. If they dumbfound you, fine, you go to plan B, but generally speaking, you need a plan with every single batsman that comes to the wicket as to who's best to bowl at him first. Not much option in this cricket. You only got a couple of overs each. It's good bowling. The only problem there was that it just kept coming into him, so he was able to get a bat on it for 1. But a good over to date.
AJ just, as we saw before, his foot was still going to leg stump, but he just worked the ball in there for a single. You see his back foot there stay. It doesn't go back and across. He just worked that onto the onside for the 1 just to get off strike, but that does cause him some problems with the shorter delivery.
Do you think that's a movement that he's not aware of, or do you think he is looking to give himself a little bit of room? I remember Andrew Hudson, South African opening batsman, had that involuntary step back just outside leg stump. It wasn't a question of him being scared or anything like that. It was half the time he didn't know he was doing it.
And sometimes batsmen do that too, like to play the pull shot or the cut shot, just to give them a bit more room to free their arms a little bit to play and fluently play the stroke.
That's pace and bounce. Wonderful over. Just 2 off it. And just what the doctor ordered. 13 for 1.
Another beautiful over there from Damien Fleming. That's one of the best overs of the tournament so far. As we did see, it was just a little bit of line and length, just a erred on the shorter side to AJ Jadeja, but really was a quality over, and he is a very good bowler, Damien Fleming.
Brendan Julian. I keep wanting to call him Bernard because of the West Indian Bernard Julian, also left arm over many years ago. That's a good shot. But not really found the middle of the bat. Watched that off monitor and I thought he might have found the old max zone, but a little bit high up the bat, and in fact Greg Blewett got reasonably close to catching that.
It just bounced a little bit on him there and just got it high on the bat, and feet weren't quite to the ball, and Greg Blewett did the fielding.
Damien Fleming.
It's interesting, Robin, that you can only bowl 3 overs. Now, Damien Fleming's bowled a couple of very good overs at the start. Do you bowl him for his 3rd over, or should you keep him up for the end? And he has got the bit of the wood on here on AJ Jadeja, who's a key to the Indian player. So a little bit of interesting tactic here to see what Adam Gilchrist will do.
Well, what I'd do, I'd bowl him. I'd keep him going. He's, as you say, he's just got it over Jadeja at the moment. And that's out. Well, what a start for Australia. And the strike man is the man who actually hasn't bowled the most accurately, but that's often the case, or sometimes the case. So the second Indian wicket falls to a good catch from Fleming, falling away to his right.
Yeah, that was a great catch from Damien Fleming. It wasn't, I think you put that down to a batsman's mistake rather than clever bowling. It was just a wide sort of half volley down the leg side. Mongia threw the bat at it, and Damien Fleming took an absolute screamer.
Mongia out for 3, 15 for 2, India.
India are now 15 runs for the loss of 2 wickets.
So just to get back to the point of keeping Fleming going, there's only 14 overs in the whole inning, so while a bowler's got it over a potentially dangerous player, it's just as well to keep him going. You don't know that when he comes back in half an hour's time or whatever, he won't go for 26 in 1, so while he's on top, keep him there.
I agree with you, Robin. I think it might be even worth putting a slip in there for Damien Fleming and just have a bit of a dip and see if he can get an edge or something. A new batsman as well. India in a little bit of trouble here with 2 wickets down. Robin Singh's a very good player, but Jadeja's their key, India's key, so they've got to try and get him out.
Let's look at the dismissal of Mongia again. I described that as a good catch. It was actually more than that. I think you got it right, Shane. He had to make a little bit of ground to his right, and it went quite quickly. Slow motion replays always make the catches look a lot more simple than they are. So, left armour versus left-hander. Speared in at leg stump. Just one more look at that. Yes, he's dived well away to his right-hand side. Caught it quite low to the ground. Again, 2 good deliveries there. Just arguing with myself as to how intentional both those balls were. I'm not sure that Brendan knows precisely where it's going to land when he lets go of it at the moment.
Also, he hasn't done a lot of bowling before this tournament, so he is a bit like that. He's that type of bowler. He can bowl the absolute jaffer to knock you over, but does bowl a bit of loose stuff on the way.
Jadeja just about reaches that with the toe end of the bat, and it gets over the short third man position, but with not enough power to reach the boundary. End of the over, 18 for 2.
With the Australian side, there's a couple of guys out there that too many people might know much about. Andrew Simons from Queensland. He has got a very, very good throwing arm, and I'll be surprised if he doesn't run somebody out in this tournament. We see him chasing the ball here, and watch his throw. He's got a very, very good arm. Right over the bails.
Well, we were both wrong. You see Julian, the double wicket taker. The man who's impressed us has been Damien Fleming, who's got past the outside edge of AJ Jadeja's bat on several occasions. We wondered whether he'd bowl his 3rd and last on the trot, but no. Captain Gilchrist is holding him back, and Greg Blewett's the man into the attack. He'd probably get him out first ball or something. Well done, Gilly.
I'm sure you'll see Greg Blewett do exactly the same as what Damien Fleming was trying to Jadeja, a bit of the short stuff.
Whipped away by Singh. That's bread and butter, really, swinging half volley just on the pads, and with the fine leg up, they've almost just about got to get a bat on it and you'll get runs. That's why maybe Nine Mongeau was a bit unlucky.
Just help it on its way. Not much footwork there, but didn't need it. It was wide enough down the leg side that he just had to help it on its way. And Robin Singh is a very, very good timer of the ball.
Di Venuto, the fielder.
Greg Blewett does bowl a fair bit in Australia, especially in one-day cricket. And the problem he generally seems to have is his consistency. He tries bowl in swinger, out swinger, Yorker, fast ball, or whatever he tries. And what he can do is bowl a very good bumper, a very good short ball. So I'm sure he's going to try that to AJ.
One more good steady stuff from Australia. There's no you're bound to get the odd boundary. There are only 7 fielders out there at the same time. The basics, no matter how much you reduce the game or change the game, how many fielders you take away, the basics somehow still apply, don't they? Bowl a line, bowl a length, and at the end of the day, that will be successful. You'll have your moment when somebody smears you and gets away with it. Generally speaking, it'll work for you over your career anyway, and more than likely over a competition. Just slightly lacking Fleming's pace there, wasn't he? He was able just to knock it down the long on with a turn of the wrists.
I think what you're saying is exactly right, Robin. We've seen the players that have done well so far, the bowlers and the batsmen, they've actually done exactly what you have to do in proper cricket, in test cricket or one-day cricket, whatever you want to call it. It's bowl the right line of length, play good cricket shots.
There you go. 1. And that's almost a dot ball in this sort of cricket. 27 for 2. So Australia certainly on top. 5 overs gone. India only scoring at just over 5 and over, 2 runs over 5 and over, having lost 2 wickets, but still 2 danger men at the wicket in Jadeja and Robin Singh. Nearly forgot what his name was. Damien Fleming, the pick of the bowlers, albeit that Brendan Julian's got 2 wickets. To take you through the next 5 overs or so after this delivery, which is driven down the ground. That might get in the max zone, and does. Will it go for 8? No, it's only gone for 2 off the bat, plus the 2 for the max zone. 4 to Robin Singh, and the next person you'll hear from is David Hookes, and with him is Bruce Yardley.
Thank you very much, Robin. And that's going to go close to the max area as well, and that has made a lot of noise. So that has gone over the top for 6. Just wait for the referee to signal. He has, so 12 runs. So consecutive hits into the max area, 1 into it and 1 over it.
He's amazing, isn't he, Brendan Julian? He's picked up a couple of wickets, but he's going for plenty again. Just occasionally has a bad over. The big 12.
Chance to run out at the batsman's end, and he's hit the stumps. Adam Gilchrist appealed, but the umpires has in fact called for the 3rd umpire, so the replay will come into vogue. Not too much activity by the Indian batsman RJ Jadeja, so one would assume that he's pretty comfortable that he's home.
Yes, he looked comfortable from here. Beautifully fielded. He's a magnificent athlete, Brendan Julian, about 6'6" tall, and I think he gets his bat down in time. Yep. He's safe. He seemed quite comfortable with that. There's the green light. He could stay. But Brendan Julian, an amazing player. He's a real rhythm bowler, and he's either there or he's not. And when he's not, he's pretty ordinary. But has got the ability to just knock players over with a beauty. Jadeja on strike.
And he has smashed that into the max zone as well. That's gone to a 4, which means it's an 8. So Brendan Julian bowling to the middle of the bat and allowing the batsman to hit straight. RJ Jadeja, who's had such